Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 11th, 2024 and 2025. We are really doing well. At approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life purpose to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. And I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools that I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies that I guide virtually every movement I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you, as they can be, and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years, with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, today we're going to go back into the alien races, and we're going to look at the Mauldoc. Okay. Now, before we get underway, I do want to tip my hat to Storm in the background. He's a primary moderator. And Storm he's here to make sure that everything technical runs, as well as making sure problem children go away. This said, the thing he has done that is just absolutely phenomenal, and literally speaking, I couldn't have done it without him. Okay, the three of the books that I've got done are Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. This is the backbone of how I changed my life from where it was to where it is today. Then I've got Believe in Your Business and Follow Your Dreams. This gives the simplest methods that I could use to bring my business up and running. Then we have Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams, which is literally practical tools that work for people with only a little bit of money. There's lots of great books out there for, if you've got $40,000, $50,000. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I don't have that yet. Now, what Storm did was he took all of these books, and yes, each one of these is $20 Canadian in your hand, virtually anywhere in the world. Okay, hard copy in your hand. However, what Storm just finished putting online today, if you go to that link at the top of the stream where it says Buy Me a Coffee at buymeacoffee.com/InnerVoiceJ, all of these books are now available in digital form on site for only $10. Okay, for $10 Canadian. Once it gets paid, it's in your hand apparently moments later. Now, tech is not my strong suit. Now, I shouldn't say I couldn't have done it without Storm. I wrote them without Storm. But getting them on the digital form is the critical factor. And we have In With the Gold, we have Operation Shutdown. How you doing, Operation? Glad you could join us. And we have Philip Blair. Yeah, Philip Blair goes, Alien Races, aliens, take your mark, get set, go. Now, I am in the process, let me just see if I can do this right, just to give you an idea. A couple of the other books I'm actually in the process of working on, we have in the workings, we have Meet the Calder, also known as what you would call the dwarves, what they call the Calder. Meet the Alphid, the Reptilians, the Reticulans, the Wayland, all of these are already in the works. So we are making headway. But today we're going to be looking at the Mauldoc. Okay, today we're going to be looking at the Mauldoc. Now understand, if you ever watched the show Predator was literally based, the creature that you see in Predator was based, as far as I'm aware, if not, they lucked out. And I'll get to that in 10 seconds. Ferret, what you're talking, and let me just make sure I get that written down here. Sure, what do I do with that? Ferret has just brought up Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And yeah, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that's the reticulans. Okay, that's the Zeta Reticulans and the Zeta Reticulan D. Okay, now I've already got them in the works, and I am going to be popping them out as efficiently as I can. We have, we had Operation in Gold, Philip in Silver, Ferret in Bronze, and Renee, you are in with honorable mention. How you doing, Renee? Glad you could join us. Now, with the Mauldoc, if you now, sooner or later here, I know Storm's in the background, so we'll get him to pop up a picture of the Mauldoc. And yes, we have run into all kinds of interesting annoyances, but this is Races of the World. In here, you will find the information, the basic information on the Mauldoc, including with the second printing, you'll actually get the picture. Okay, as well as some added information that's coming out. Now, the neat part about all of this is the Mauldoc are a predatory race. But the fascinating part, in my eyes, is how they got here in the first place. And here comes a picture of the Mauldoc. And there we go. Friendly looking people, aren't they? Now, I will tell you, these are very honor-bound people, but they are hunters, which means they do not give a quarter. You know, they will hunt. Now, bear in mind, they will not, as was also shown, it was also depicted. Where are we here? Oh. No, a grumpy predator alien is not fun. But on the plus side, they're after the hunt, which means if you don't carry weapons, the odds are they're not going to bother you because there's no challenge for them. But you'll notice the bottom jaw opens quite wide. Okay, as the saying goes, all the better to eat you with. Now, I was watching some interesting, I was looking at some interesting points, you know, on Facebook today, right? Yeah, and Philip was just saying, it sounds like Darth Maul with the letters rearranged and a K added. You know, oddly enough, they actually don't have the same capabilities. Darth Maul, if you think about it, was very psionically enhanced, as in he used the Force, if I recall correctly. Okay, now who was I'm trying? Chris. Now these pictures are actually drawn by a sometime visitor in here. The artist Chris Holm is the one that has taken the descriptions I gave him and turned them into these. Okay, but they are a normal. They're a predator. So yeah, when you take a look at them, there is very little fat on them at all. They arrived here due to an interstellar war. I'll get to that in 5 seconds here. They weren't even heading for Earth when they got here. Okay, they were in the neighborhood, but due to a conflict, and bear in mind, these guys are slavers. They are quite happy to buy and sell, people, creatures, animals, doesn't matter. But some of you may have seen, yes, he is. Some of the work he's done is absolutely incredible. The thing with the Mauldoc, you may have seen pictures of a Colosseum ship. Looks like an old Roman Colosseum. These are generational ships. But way before man arrived, way before, the Mauldoc crash in the southern hemisphere, in Earth's southern hemisphere. And the net result, because they had with them, they had other captives with them, which some of you may have heard of, doubtful in all fairness. When they crashed here way before man evolved, the Mauldocs had already set themselves up. Now, it will be fascinating to find out what ends up showing up, in a few, probably another 30, 40 years, depending. But they ended up crashing in the southern hemisphere and ended up, they ended up setting up a civilization here. But because they do not reproduce as fast as they would like, mankind overrode it and, overrode their population. So they didn't get dominant control here. That and the fact there were other circumstances as well. Whoa, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So they've been around for a while. If we go way back, and I'm going way back to the beginning of civilization, and I don't mean mankind's civilization. That's a whole different ballgame. But way back when the Mauldoc arrived, the Elfid were already here. They'd already taken root and set up a civilization. But long story short, they ended up at odds. Some of them ended up at odds with the Mauldoc. Now, the Mauldoc stayed in the southern hemisphere for the most part. This is why when the movie came out and they set it up in the Amazon, I'm like, nice choice. Actually, I think it was in Central America, but you get the idea. The neat part about it is the Mauldoc are they're very combat oriented. In case you couldn't tell by the picture that was up there, okay, these guys have claws that when they open you up, they will open you up right from front to back, all in one shot. Okay, they also, when you look at the bottom jaw, the way it opens, they literally can bite the head off of somebody. Now, the reality of it is they are not big enough to swallow the head. But what they do is those jaws will tear through the jugular on both sides of a human neck. Not a nice group of people when you think about combat. But they've got no qualms about it either. This is why when people start talking about operation, the short answer is yes. This is why I know that they're actually decent people. Trick is, when you're dealing with them, remember they are hunters first. So if you're dealing with them, becoming aggressive with them is a bad idea. Verbally, they don't care. They'll ignore you. Okay? But pick a fight, and I will guarantee you won't have to be buried. Because, see, the difference in the movie is they showed they only took trophies. They didn't only take trophies. Okay, Mauldoc look at it and go, yes, we're going to take a trophy. Usually a skull. Okay, skull and spinal cord if they can get it. The thing with them, though, is they take the rest of the body with them because they are carnivores. In case you couldn't tell by the teeth. They are very, very athletic, very well toned. If you look at them, you'll realize they don't have fat on them at all. Oh, I first learned, Ferret's asking, how did you first learn about the Mauldoc? I first learned about the Mauldoc when I was dealing with a couple of the Elfid. And they come from the Mauldoc and the Elfid have been at war for literally millennia. But due to the fact that Mauldoc have a tendency of recovering from pretty serious wounds, and the elephant know how to heal people, you've got a war. It's more of a shoving match with a whole lot of blood. But I've run in, and I have known them for a while, and they are they're very much to their word. If they say they're taking somebody out, they will work to do so. But the thing is, they are not solo hunters. Okay, they're coordinated hunters, meaning if they figure a prey is too big for one of them, they will bring company and bring friends with them. Their ship, they ended up crash landing. It was just a single colony. It was just a simple. Okay, we'll try English. It was a single generation ship. Okay, yes, they do go around looking for new prey. Absolutely. Here we are. Oh, Phil, I overlooked this one, Philip. Philip asked, are they deep philosophers? I ask, because apparently Plato studies fighting like grappling and such. They do study fighting, but philosophers, I wouldn't really call them heavy duty philosophers. They study fighting techniques to become the best of the best. They will emulate other people's fighting techniques in order to best them at their own games. But I wouldn't call it wrestling, given that they'll take your arm off. And it's a little hard to wrestle if you take the arm off. By the way, Philip, you are right. Very much like the only difference is with a pack of wolves, the wolves all stay together as an entire pack. Mauldoc are more often than not solitary hunters. They only team up when it becomes beneficial for them. So when they first crashed here, the first thing they had to do was seal their ship. Because when they crashed, the Laborians they had on board didn't take too terribly kindly to it. And they left a bit of a mess. So, of course, the Mauldoc had to concentrate first on sealing the ship up, while they were trying to take care of the wounded. And then once that happened, then they started to expand. But we are not talking about a prolific birth rate. So they don't reproduce in a hurry. There's still quite a number of them on Earth. Most of them have found their way into what you would call hollow Earth or inner Earth. Okay. No, they are not, in all fairness, looking to, contrary to some people's belief, they are not looking to move into the cities and start hunting in civilized areas. Number one, way too many problems. So what they ended up doing was they set up home in the southern hemisphere. Okay. And bearing in mind the temperature of the southern hemisphere, I'm not talking the equator. I'm talking down at the South Pole. Okay. So they spend most of their time inside their generation ship. Okay. It's only individuals that go out for the most part, at this point anyway. They tried a mass exodus centuries back. Well, actually millennia back. But that didn't end too well. Okay, so they are settled in the Southlands, and eventually mankind may come across them. Okay, bear in mind, these guys do know how to hide. No, they are not heavy into the camouflage side as far as the ship goes. But let's face it, you put the ship under several feet of ice, And all of a sudden, you've got an interesting setup. It's hard to find. That's terrible there, Philip. Philip goes, Beauty and the Mauldoc. Yeah. The neat part is if you can find a way to get along with them, they're fabulous people. Okay. Yeah, like literally, Philip, if you take a look at the Roman Colosseums, okay, that is the same shape as the Mauldoc generation ships. Okay, with the primary exception, Mauldoc ships fly, Roman Colosseums don't. So you're looking at a ship that is, I would guesstimate, a mile across minimum. Okay, and probably 17, 18 stories tall. I haven't actually bothered to try and remember exactly how big the thing is. But if you've ever seen them in the air, and some of you have, some of you guys have seen, some people have taken pictures of what looks like a Colosseum floating in the sky. It's not so much it looks like it. So they do house an entire civilization there. But you got to remember, we are not talking millions of people. We are talking thousands. Okay? Bear in mind, if you take a look at them, you take a population of 1,000 people, you've only got, it's probably closer to 10,000. The reason I'm just doing math in my head here, what you've got is a race that is very, I think, now they reproduce pretty reasonably. I think I've got the length of time they take. Just double checking in the book. Way too much information to remember all of it. Oh, that is why. Nope, that's in the new edition. But the Mauldoc, if they are not killed, will live 250, 300 years. Okay, but what you end up with is you take your population, cut it in a quarter. Okay, because the average Mauldoc has 2 kids. Sometimes, 2 to 4 kids. They probably have 3 on average. Okay, but what it is they produce the kids. Kids are live born. Okay, fortunately, they are born very much in, like, reproduction is done the same way that humans are. Okay, fortunately, the canines that the Mauldoc have do not come into play until they're about 6 years old. When they hit that first growth spurt between 5 and 7, that's when their lower canines come in. Prior to that, they really don't have the big tusks. But the Mauldoc, they will go out, and what they do is when they find something new they haven't run into, they will challenge it to prove their dominance. Very much a barbaric approach from that end. So when and I'll use the term set down a little loosely, because when they landed, the original ship that landed here, and it was only the one ship that landed, it landed hard enough that repairing it wasn't functionally possible, and frankly still isn't likely to be for another, I would have to say it'll probably be 300-400 years before mankind has evolved their technology far enough that it's of any use to the Mauldoc at all. But yes, there have been other ships that have arrived, that have come in. So there's been a little bit of interaction going on. This is why you guys may have seen them. Okay, but I'm just looking at what's coming up in the chat room there. Okay. And again, guys, if you have a question, absolutely put it in the chat room. Very much like what Operation did here. Put it in all caps so I can find it. And I see Operation did it that way, Ferret did it that way. Makes it so much easier for me to see. Now, the Mauldoc, they found out because they're down in the south, okay, and they do come from a jungle world. They do have a tendency of sticking to heavy woods. This is why you're not likely to see them in civilized areas. They're not comfortable there. Besides that, they're not indestructible. And in today's world, with the way people are, getting shot is a high probability, at least for them. Oh, Philip, this is the easy part. None of the Mauldoc ships are organically grown. They're all mechanically built. Okay, they do have built-in terrariums and livestock, live food, but the ships themselves are not organically grown, unless you want to count minerals being naturally grown and then worked with. But no, these guys don't grow their ships. They simply build them. However, if you look at the firepower on them, you really don't want to deal with them. And this is why I look at it when humans are going, oh, we'll just fight off the aliens when we get here. I'm like, no, guys, you really haven't got a prayer. But they have designed them for expediency and for viability. Operation is asking, do they consider humans to be allies or enemies? I could go with yes, but it literally boils down to the individual. The Mauldoc, no, they are not in their world. They're not on their home. Therefore, they are very, very tentative in dealing with humans, aside from when they go hunting. Okay, so I wouldn't say you would call them allies. They were part of a massive negative run. Negative run as in they got involved in the war way back before humans were born, before humans were even created. Okay, but they don't look at humans, and they look at humans as being weak, and therefore they are more a novelty or prey than they are anything else. Humans aren't enemies to them because humans haven't got the ability to be a threat. Frankly, in the Mauldoc eyes, a grizzly bear is more dangerous than a human, aside from the fact that humans are a little trigger happy. And yeah, these guys are definitely not scavengers, and they do not eat carrion. Okay, they will store it, but they do not eat. They don't eat carrion. They store carrion, by the way, because of some of the pets they've got. And yes, I am in the middle of working on those. What if I've got any? If any are already written? Let me see here. I certainly do. Where are we? See. I'm just calling up document over here. Didn't think about doing it, but what the heck. Now. Which, no, haven't got them added. I mean, one of the other little books I'm working on is some of the animals, some of the creatures that these people have. Okay. And when you take a look at the Mauldoc, take a look at the bottom jaw, the way it flares, all much like humans, much like on Earth, animals and people evolved in very similar fashions. Okay, on the Mauldoc homeworld, you're looking at the same problem. Well, considering it hasn't been done in literally millions of years, I wouldn't be holding my breath on trying to film one. It's amazing how many people actually ask that, though. I mean, it's a good question there, Philip. Ken Stockline, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. The off-worlders, because they happen to be members of the consortium, they know they cannot turn around and go, hey, humans, we're really here. They are not permitted to do that because of what it would do to mankind's civilization. And I know people tell me, oh, it wouldn't do any damage to it. You may well, depending on if you've got audio, sometimes you can hear them. But I will tell you, in order to hear them, you're going to have to go into the lower part of South America, down into Argentina, is your best bet. Right down in the lower tip. It's possible, and I honestly don't know this one for certain, it's possible you'll find them on the southern tip of South Africa as well. I honestly don't know if they've expanded that far. So I am looking at trying to get a few other things done, but I finally made some headway. Okay, I finally made the headway that I needed to, that I required to get finances moving so that I can actually survive. And this is one of the reasons why I brought up at the beginning of the show that the self-help books, Believe in Yourself and the Believe in Your series, 3 of them are now available on digital. Christina, how you doing? No, in all fairness, this year, Storm, Ellie, and I discussed it. We've moved the show to 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific. Okay, it opens up a lot of extra viable time. I am reminding myself how to get back on earlier in the day. When I'm just working on writing or working on the figures. But yeah, this is from here on out. We're going to be on air from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific from Friday to Tuesday. Okay, there will be some variations in there depending. But yeah, we're back up 5 days a week. And now it's just a question of getting things done. And if I have had it down here, we're showing you some, because what I'm doing is I'm finding figures that actually work well with my writing. And yes, sooner or later, I will end up, of course, I'm in the middle of rewriting a few things. Other books will be brought on to digital as soon as we can get them there. The fact of the matter is, like I mentioned, we are coming into 2025. We're finally getting into the 21st century. I still prefer the hard copy books, and all the ones that are available are in stock. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of people in today's world seem to like the digital. Myself, I don't. Okay, but I am working on some extra programs and what have you to deal with. One of the neat parts about it is, with the way things are evolving, I'm going to continue writing. I'm going to continue being here, putting out positive perspectives, the free newsletter. I'm working on February's as we speak. Okay, and again, all of this is available. All of this is available through the link at the top of the stream. With the Mauldoc, I've got a couple of friends, a couple of Mauldoc friends. Okay, I don't make a lot of friends where it comes to humans. I have found all kinds of complications. No offense to anybody here by any stretch. And this is why I say, if you ever end up in the Kelowna area, in Kelowna, BC, Canada, I certainly meet people for coffee. Fortunately, from my end, that's pretty much where it ends. As in, I don't go very far. Where are we? Thank you very much, their operation. And again, if any of you have an article or a perception that is good news or of a positive nature, absolutely get it to me. Now, I will be straightforward with you, I always am. I'm not about to pay for it because I don't charge for positive at all. Okay. But I have come to the conclusion, like I was looking on Facebook, I went to mention this earlier. There's a wonderful argument going on back and forth. Was Earth created? Did Earth evolve? Was man created? Did man evolve? I'm telling you, we got to stop looking at what brought us to where we are. And we got to start looking at how to get along. Okay? I mean, let's face it. The Mauldoc are professional hunters. These guys track by scent. Okay? Scent, eyesight, hearing, they're hunters. Now, if I can find common ground with them, okay, and get along with them on the whole, there is no reason other people can't. Okay? You just gotta remember, these are just different people. They look different. Okay, and that's pretty much what it boils down to. Callie, didn't quite see you come in. A Mauldoc, just to be clear on that, Storm, I know you're poking around. There we go. Here is a Mauldoc there, Callie. These are hunters. And these guys, as you can tell, are equipped for hand-to-hand combat quite nicely. Okay, but it is their bottom jaw that opens. Okay, not the upper one. The show Predator showed it with both the upper and lower jaws opening. They don't. Okay, they are, however, carnivores. Carnivores, hunters. These guys do not eat salad, unless you talk about mixed meats. But the Mauldoc evolved on a jungle world. Okay, and because it's a jungle world, they are very adept at the hunting side of things. But these people, and as you can tell by the little horns on their brow, they are known to gore people. And yes, for those of you that are wondering, some Mauldoc have an elongated horn, have a much larger horn. Okay, they do not, on the whole, end up with a horn in the middle of their forehead, however. Okay, it's just an extension on the brow ridge. But you do not want to tangle with them in that fashion. Oh, absolutely. Let me ask you this. Just to point that out there, Fair goes, if they think we are prey, you can still be friends. A close friend of mine, when he was a kid, had a friend grizzly bear. Okay. And I mean, they went everywhere together. It was wild, but this buddy of mine literally went around with it, walked around the world with him. Yeah, it's in the Blue Cruise. Blue Cruz goes, that mullet is scary looking. You should see it up close. Neat part about it is because of how tight it fits. When they do end up with blood, they can just rinse off it. It just runs off easy. But I made friends with myself. I made friends with a Black Panther right in Kelowna decades back. A guy had one as a pet, and I'll tell you, if you ever think that a cat has a deep purr, you should feel a Black Panther's. One day, I have no doubt, the Mauldoc will eventually, some of them will leave, well, some of them have left. Thing is, because they are now situated here, they've got a foothold. Then, when I call it a foothold, understand, the Mauldoc are not looking at invasion. They are not looking at colonizing Earth. Okay? It's kind of like having a campsite where people go out on a safari. The Mauldoc that are here have settled in quite nicely. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Philip is just saying, he goes, humans frustrate me too. I found a fun little book about humans called A Field Guide to Earthlings by Ian Ford. He's literally from Albuquerque. And he goes, no joke. What do we got here? Yeah, you are right. You are right, Blue. The Mauldoc are one of the more frightening of the people I've run into. There are some that are really weird, and we will get back to getting those done. I just had to straighten out the finances. That has finally been done. And here's the thing: most with the books I've just put on the market, most of those books, of the income from those, goes straight back in to making certain I can get other ones done. To get other books out and published. Okay, because it came to my attention. If I don't get this information out, I'm going to die sooner or later. And when I die, all of that information goes with me, except what I managed to get out in print. Okay, or at least on disc. And on disc, it is temporary. Okay, I actually don't have I don't have one right handy, but I've got a book that was printed in 1850. Okay, so I'm doing my best to get all this information out and get it tied off to pass it on to you guys and to everybody that can get a hold of it, because I'm telling you, yes, I write the basic lines, because I will tell you, there are, especially where it comes to the number of people. Yeah, Phil goes, if I had a Mauldoc friend, I'd invite them out for Halloween. Yeah, the Mauldoc can go out. The Singdinan do. Okay. And there's a number of other races that can get away with it. I wouldn't hold my breath. And the reason for that, I mean, there are some areas where you might be able to see one. Okay. And, I've contemplated the whole idea. But you got to get to some pretty wild areas. Wild as in, if you go to some of the Halloween parties in some of the bigger cities, where they really go all, or the cosplay areas. Okay. An adventurous one may deem to go there. Oh, Cowie goes, does the Mauldoc have any weaknesses? Everybody does. Okay. One of the biggest things you got to remember with them, okay, as much as they are muscle bound, they, now how do I put this as a weakness? Then one of the biggest weaknesses they probably have is they prefer to fight alone. Okay. And by the way, the thing with Mauldoc is I get a kick out of it because do they have firepower? Certainly. But they are hand-to-hand combatants. So their real limit, contrary to the movie, okay, in war they'll bring the guns. If it's not war, they prefer stealth attacks. That's terrible, Philip. That really is. They prefer the biggest weakness they have is they almost unilaterally, when they're hunting, they will go after prey in hand to hand. Okay, which means if you have a ranged weapon, okay, you might stand a better chance. Bear in mind their camouflage is staggeringly good. But they do use, the funny part about it is they don't see camouflage as as, if you will, cheating. They do not use ranged weapons because it's not honorable in their eyes. But camouflage, they got no problem with, even though they are tech-based for camouflage. Okay, even their ships are camouflage capable. Okay, but but are they a tough predator? Certainly. One of the biggest things you gotta remember, and I guess a weakness would be they don't actually handle. Thank you very much, Storm. Just been informed we're down to 15. The Mauldoc, much as they are down in the southern hemisphere, they don't handle the cold as well as they would like, which is why they don't leave very often. They'll leave during the summer and go into the woodlands, in Argentina and thereabouts. Or I think they go into them. I don't know what the terrain is like in South Africa, in all fairness, but they tend to stay locked away in the warmth of their community until the weather warms up. Needless to say, in recent years, does it though, Ferret? Dropping it down to the hour. In all fairness, today's been bad. But by dropping it down to the 1 hour, I'm not running around in circles. In all fairness, if there was more, like tonight's been great. If there was more communication going on, because I feed off the chat room. Oh, first rule, and the biggest thing I can tell you, Operation goes, what advice would you give someone if they were to encounter a Mauldoc? First thing you do, if you are holding on to an actual weapon, put it on the ground. Don't just sheath it. Put it on the ground. Okay? Because, well, that is a point there, Philip. Philip goes, it's summer in the southern hemisphere right now. The thing with dealing with Mauldoc is if you do not pose a threat to them, and just having a weapon on you, and I mean a viable one. I don't mean the idea that anything can be used as a weapon. There's only one problem with Ferret. Playing dead would work, except one small problem. Mauldoc are slavers. And if you're playing dead, assuming they realize you're just playing dead, they'll pick you up and sell you off to the highest bidder. Or and bear in mind, highest bidder does not mean money. So I'm thinking that playing dead may not be in your best interest. Although it would be entertaining to see their reaction when you all of a sudden pop your eyes open and get up. By the way, they don't have much of a sense of humor. Okay, these guys they're pretty serious where it comes to their profession. And like I said, primarily they are hunters. Okay, they thrive on the hunt. They do not, by the way, they are not that fast. They're resilient. And yes, they do regenerate. So punch a hole in them and, well, they regenerate. I shouldn't say that. They actually have much better healing techniques than what humans do. You know, I will tell you though, when they did the movie, they managed to replicate the sound of their scream quite nicely. Philip goes, I'd bring chocolate and flowers to a Mauldoc. You'd be better off bringing a roast pig than you would be bringing flowers. Like I said, they are carnivores. And since they don't have much of a sense of celebration, flowers boils down to it looking like salad. They don't eat salad. As a buddy of mine put it, this buddy of mine, he says he's a second generation vegetarian. He lets the cows eat the vegetables. He'll eat the cow. Mauldoc are very much like that as well. Oh, yeah, steak would work beautifully. And honestly, bring the steak uncooked. Okay, if you bring the steak absolutely raw, they'll be happy. Yeah. Christine goes, I think we might fight over the steak. Neat part with the Mauldoc is they do store their meat, but they won't eat carrion. They just have, and I'll tell you. Oh, that would work there, Ferret. Ferret goes a bouquet of meat kebabs. That would work beautifully. You really want to make them happy. Put the meat kebabs on the side. Yeah, well, that's just it. I may have more of a fight with them. I prefer my steak blue. Right. As in 20 seconds on one side, 20 on the other, and put it on the table. Well, put it on a plate. I'm not quite that barbaric. But no, they're not barbarians. They just happen to be hunters and carnivores. And yeah, one of the best things you can do is if you do end up running into one, treat them as though they are a predator. And that doesn't mean get defensive. It means acknowledge the fact that they know what they're doing. Empathy, in the short run, the answer would be yes. In other words, they do understand, Moldocs do understand the idea of a gift. And if you're bringing a gift like Philip was suggesting, they know it's intended as a gift. The fact that it depends on what it is will determine what kind of approach they take with it, simply because of the way they grow up. The best way to get their attention is to show bravery. Okay, this does not mean that you can fight, that you can take them on hand to hand. It means acknowledge where their prowess is, honor that respect. And whatever you do not try and break into their home. They will not take that well. And we are down to the 5 minutes, guys. So let me do a quick check here. because tomorrow we'll be here all too quick. Just grabbing my calendar to tell you what I'm actually dealing with. Tomorrow, we are dealing with basic finance. Okay, and I do mean the basic finance. Now, with that in mind, if you guys have a topic, have a species, have an area of question that you would like a topic, that you would like a show done on, absolutely drop me a note. Let me know. Okay, and I will work it in. I'm in the middle of setting things up for the coming weeks as well. But with that in mind, we are running at this point. It'll be permanent. Okay, Friday to Tuesday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific. Okay, with that in mind, thanks so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really do appreciate it. And I will be back again tomorrow. But until then, do take care of yourself.